Long time no see. When I told you guys that I was going to see you later this week, I'm pretty sure you didn't think it was the NYSC series because it's been so long we did one. For those who don't know what the NYSC series is, this right now is the year of my service, NYSC. Yes, I'm a corper, soon to be ex. And at the beginning of my service, being a podcaster, one of the things that I said I was going to do for consistency's sake was to record every single day of my life in service. And there were some motivators for this. One, I knew I was going to experience something new because going to a new part of the country and experiencing something that I've never experienced before, I feel like it's information, it's news, it's fun, and it will be fun to share on the podcast. And two, it will be good for consistency. And I did that. The moment I stepped into camp, I recorded NYSCeries day one, which was the day I went into camp, and I explained how my day went from my journey up until how I found the camp or how I met the camp that day. And then every day after that, I was recording episodes just before sleeping in the NYSC camp and just narrating how my day went. And even when I eventually came into Lagos and started my life as a corper, I was recording every single day up until day 60-something where, life got too serious and I stopped doing that daily. I think I was doing it weekly. And then eventually it became more and more sporadic. And that's how I've not put out any NYSCeries episode for several months now. And we're going to get right into this one. Yesterday was my final clearance, which is we're coming to the end of the service here, and a lot has happened in the time that I've not recorded. Good things, to be fair. One of the things is the growth of the podcast, and something else is my increased familiarity with the new city and how easily I'm finding it as every day goes by. So, how did my day go? The day of the final clearance, Wednesday. It's usually not the day that I go for CDS. CDS is always Tuesdays for me, and then we thought our final clearance would fall on a Tuesday because regular clearance during the service here usually used to fall on Tuesdays. But this didn't fall on Tuesday, it fell on a Wednesday. And the reason was that they didn't do our final clearances according to our CDS. They just picked out a day and said everybody in our batch and stream should come for clearance that day. And there's a lot more people in our batch and stream than there are in our CDS. So it was a crowded event. One thing that I've wondered about my service for a very, very long time is this. In 2021 or 2020, during that COVID break, I held a job for 3 months. And one time I was with my boss in that office, Mr. Oliver, and he was looking through pictures on Facebook. And then he saw somebody in an NYSC uniform. And he was saying, this lady, I thought she had finished, I thought she had served since. So I showed me the picture. It was this lady, mature lady with NYSC uniform. And he was saying how they went to school together and, they finished since. And he thought she had finished. He didn't know it was now she was finishing NYSC or going for NYSC, something like that. And I remember thinking within myself, silently, that could be me. Where people will say, this guy, has he not finished since? And that was because at that point, I was in 200 or 300 level. But I hadn't seen my result for the past 2 sessions. And that was because I hadn't paid my school fees for the past 2 sessions. I had paid at that point, but I had owed and written those exams without paying school fees. So I had cleared the backlog, but my data was not updated yet, which means through 200 and 300 level, I couldn't even see my results. And so I knew then that even if I had carryovers, I wasn't taking them because I was not aware of them. And it might come to bite me in final year, and then I will have to now not graduate with my mates. And all these things. So I knew that could be my fate eventually. As a person that graduated in 2021, I think that was when 2021, to now go for NYSC 2025, that means the people who were in 100 level when I finished school are the ones I served with, or even the ones who got admission the year that I finished are the ones I served with. Crazy stuff, because I served I'm 28 now. Most of the corpers will be turning 25. Most of the corpers that I served with, most of them were 24 when I asked their ages in camp, especially the girls. So I was like, this could be my case. Not in any sad way. I just, recognized that could be the case. I didn't even really think much about avoiding it or anything like that. I just felt like it. And I wonder how it had affected my service here or my actions in this service here. And I'll tell you a few things. One, being more mature than almost every other corper made me a lot more nonchalant with the things of the NYSC. I don't sit down to listen to CDS lectures. I don't bother about going early for CDS or the attendances or things like that. Even the project, now sometimes CDS involves them going around to places, like working together. And I used to look forward to that when I was in school. Like, a bunch of corpers going to do something for the community and whatnot. I had absolutely zero interest in things like that. I used to just come in. The way our CDS in our local government is set up, you do your biometrics after the CDS lecture, if there is a lecture. And I used to time myself and come in just so that I can spend enough time to do my thumb printing and go back. So I come in late when they've started doing the biometric thumb printing attendance. Come in late enough that enough people have done it, that only a few are left, and then I just come in and thumb print with those few and leave. Sometimes I even come so late that everybody knows I'm late, and they're like, "Why are you coming just now?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, I was held up." And they'll still let me thumb print. They're nice people in my local government, to be fair. This nonchalance, people saw it. There's this chick, Beulah. She's an ESCO in my CDS. And she's always the one that gives me information or, explains certain things to me that I don't understand. So I'm not even far behind. She's the one that I call for information and she explains certain things to me. And sometimes I'm running too late, she lets me know. But just towards the end of this service like this now, she calls me, or whenever I call her, she's like, you're not here yet. And this, so it always hurries me to go there earlier than I planned. And so by 11 a.m., 12 p.m., I'd go. And then I'd have to sit through a bit of the lecture or sit through the attendance going on for the people who came earlier. And then I'd wait until much later before I'm able to do my own. And that was the case this time for my clearance that happened yesterday. I went there around 11 because I thought maybe by 12 or 1 they'd be done. But what I didn't take into consideration was the fact that this was not CDS. This was everybody in my batch and stream. And there were over 1,000 of us. So going there late, my name wasn't even on the attendance list. And there were like 500 people outside still waiting to get thumb printed or whatnot, or to be cleared. There was no thumb printing, as I painfully figured out. But they clear your file. They clear you manually. And then you have to come for something else next week so that we can do thumb printing then. That's our final biometric. And I waited so long. The place was so crowded, so hot. I couldn't even find a way in. I just said I was going to sit and be patient. But eventually, I found my way in, found a line, stood on it, a line towards the office where the whole thing was going down. And eventually, the whole noise and crowdedness of the place just forced the LGI to pursue everybody. Like, hey, everybody get out. We are starting this whole thing afresh. Or we are not doing dump. We are not even doing the clearance anymore. She goes crazy like that. And so that now reshuffled the whole thing, and I had to go back outside. So there's this courtroom very close to the local government there, like in the same compound, the same building. Not the same building, the same compound. So a lot of coppers were sitting down there waiting, and that's what I was doing. I waited. In my mind, I was going to wait for an hour, and maybe whatever they are doing, the people would have reduced, and then I'll be able to go in and have a more seamless clearance experience. And so from the courtroom, you could see the entrance of the local government door. And the amount of people that crowded the door would determine how many people are left or how fast the whole thing is going. And I'm telling you, I was waiting until from 1 p.m. to... my plan was to wait in there from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., so that I could... By the time I got out at 2 p.m., I could go and do my thing seamlessly. But from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., it was as if nothing changed. It was as if nobody was attended to, even though they were. So crowded. And so after that, by like 2:30, I got fed up. I even tried to sleep while sitting. Something I've not tried in a long time. I've not been put in a position where I was so tired I needed to sleep. I couldn't lie down. I had to sit and find sleep. I tried that. My dark shades on. Sleep didn't come. But I think I had some deep rest. And then I went back to the door. Tried to force my way in. I mean, when I say that, I sound so uncivilized. Not trying to force my way in, but, try to see a way that I could go in. All these escorts that I knew there was so much pressure on them, so there was no point calling anybody. They wouldn't even help me. And so I stood outside, and eventually, I can't even remember how, but I think I got in. Oh, yeah. So there were a lot of people at the door, and slowly, people who crowded the door were going in slowly, while people came out, people who were done with their clearance were coming out. And so eventually, I stood at the door long, maybe for like 45 minutes. I stood at the door long enough with a crowd of people, and they were going in slowly, and eventually came to my turn, and I got in. and I put myself, I kept a spot on the line and said, look, oh, my guy, I'm behind you. And then I sat somewhere to, pass time. Now, imagine, I did not plan to spend this long here. This was already 3 p.m. thereabouts. And I stood there using my phone, a phone that I charged up but did not charge up for spending 4 or 5 hours at the local government. So it was getting low. But then there's this other chick I saw that I've seen a couple times. So she helped me with a power bank and I was able to charge my phone like reasonably well to last me the entire day. But the day was far from over. Eventually the line was moving and then my spot on the line got very close to the door. I was very thankful. That's why we went over to stand there. But the line was so tight and there were so many people around the main line that I couldn't even find a spot in my spot. Like the guy that I was behind was literally breast and back to one girl. So there was no space for me to go in. I was just following the line casually and waiting until enough space opened up between them and then I could slot myself in. But before that could even happen, LGI came out. I said, yo, all of you that are crowded here, please leave. Please go outside. Go outside. We are starting a fucking fresh. It was difficult too. A lot of people just refused to move. And then they stopped doing the clearances. Place was crowded. Escorts were shouting, guys, people should please move now. This country is crazy, man. This country is crazy. Anyway, we eventually were able to get out, but I stood by the door. I did not go far or go to find a seat outside. When they say get out, I got out of the what they call it, the waiting area, so to speak, is where the line was, and just stood outside the door. And there was a bunch of us standing outside the door. They said everybody should leave, but I'm not be small picking. I'm not just going to go back far away. I'm going to stand at that door. Nobody's going to beat me. So I stood at the door. And by the door, there were chairs to the left and to the right. So a lot of people sat by those chairs because if you're sitting down, it's more likely that you're complying because you're outside, you're seated. If you're just standing in front of the door, it's almost like you're protesting. But I stood in front of the door. A couple of people stood in front of me as well. And eventually, they started picking from those people to go in one after the other. I think 5 per time. So the girl in charge, Christiana, very, very good leader, very good escort, knows how to relate to people. Dope girl. So she would pick from the right, people who were seated by the right, pick people who were seated by the left, and then pick one person from the line that I was standing on. We'll call it a line because they eventually accepted that, okay, people that are standing here, you people are a line, but there's only like 10 of you on the line. Everybody else, please go and find somewhere to sit. And so they picked from that line. And that was how I was able to get in. Eventually, they picked, and my turn got... my turn reached. I got to my turn. And I went in. They showed me the documents and they had to submit. I already knew that beforehand from the group. But, there's some photocopies you have to make. Luckily, there was a photocopier in the office, so I made the copies there, paid, did all that stuff. It was a very, very seamless clearance. Once you get into the office, really, life is a lot more easier. The chaos is outside. I don't know if this is the same with everybody that have done NYSC and this is how they do their CDS or their clearance. But the chaos outside is crazy. But the calm inside, where you're about to do your stuff finally. So I submitted, obviously, no thumb printing, but they cleared my file. File that went missing last year. And these people wanted to gaslight me. Anyway, I think this thing of my file going missing was in one of the earlier NYSCeries. And I want to encourage you, if you've not listened to any episode of the NYSCeries and this is just something you're listening because you follow the Good Living podcast now, go back to the NYSCeries. It's almost like a different podcast altogether. So this does not relate to my last or next episode. It's special in its own series. And then that was how I was able to do my stuff. And then it was past 5 by the time I was done and got back home. I'm just excited that no matter what... While I was there, I was asking myself, all this line, all this sweat, all this... What would I have to do? How much would I have to make to avoid this level of discomfort? I wore my jacket, like the NYSC jacket. Before I used to just wear the white shirts and the trouser. So imagine the heat, because I was not expecting this heat. I just wore the jacket, like, I don't used to wear this thing, let me just wear it today. And it happened to be the day that I will be sardined with people on a line. And I was asking myself, why do I have to go through this? Does Jeff Bezos have to go through this? Does Elon Musk have to go through this? I'm not even talking about those two alone, but there's a certain level in life you reach. You don't have to endure queues. And that's what I want for myself. I know that to get that, you will have to suffer queues too and suffer other things that enables you to earn and afford that life. For me, that's what I want to. I don't know what you want. But that's essentially how the 2 Oh my God, day 339 went. And it's becoming very clear to me that this NYSC series is not going to reach the 360, but I'm going to, my POP, the final episode of the NYSC series, I'm just going to name it the 360. Or name it the correct thing I might just use the correct day count just so that I can outline or make it clear just how many days the service lasted. And God, don't let me get started on like how different life is between when I first got into Lagos and now, or at my POP. But I think that's exactly what the final episode of the NYSC series is going to encompass and cover. You know, the timeline of my service life. 2025, worst year of my life. Oh my God, worst year of my life. Worst year of my life. Not homeless. Kachi gave me shelter. But, being independent since 2021, living by myself, having that whole stability of life and everything, and just going through that for 3 years. And then all of a sudden, when you're older than most people who are doing the scheme with you, you suddenly have in a new place, no car, no house, no girlfriend. I broke up with my girlfriend, so this singleness is by choice. But all that stuff, the humility it gives you. I've never had to work for somebody, but then I worked in somebody's studio because I wanted to be shooting my podcast. And even then, so it wasn't fulfilling because I still felt like I couldn't even feel comfortable shooting because I used to shoot in my house before, and then now shooting in somebody's studio where it feels like I'm begging to shoot. My guests will come and I'm still a bit jittery because I don't know if somebody that is my boss will come and now shout at me in the presence of a guest of my podcast. These things I'm not used to. The humility that I've learned this year. But thank God all of that is passed within the year, which is a fantastic testimony in my opinion. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have blabbed. That is what the NYSC series is mostly about, unfortunately. This has been an amazing journey, and every single one of you that has been supportive from the camp days, listening up until now, I can't tell you how important you've been for the consistency of this podcast. If people are not commenting and not viewing, listening, and liking those episodes of the NYSC series from the beginning, especially those first 20, 30 episodes, I don't know what my consistency would have been on the podcast. Man, to be fair, I know I'm a consistency demon. I'll always put out the next episode, but honestly, you guys were immensely helpful. Let's watch out for the next episode of the NYSC series. Let's watch out for the next episode of the Good Living podcast, which is going to be about drumroll. Stay tuned on Monday to find out. Have a nice life, guys. Bye.